Hello, I am here for the final time to read the last chapter of Sam Wu is Not Afraid of Spiders. We finally made it to chapter 15, which is called Official Spider Catcher Club. I never thought I would be so happy to see Mr. Dougal. I almost jumped off the bucket right then and there, but remembered I needed to stay put so Tulip didn't get out. Bernard didn't wait another second. He pushed past Mr. Dougal and ran out into the open corridor, his arms flung wide open. "We found Tulip," Zoe said, pointing at me sitting on an overturned bucket, wearing a beekeeper hat and gardening gloves. "She's under the bucket," I explained. Mr. Dougal's face lit up. "Marvellous," he said. "Simply marvellous." "We came in here looking for her and then the door shut and locked us in," Zoe explained. "We're not sure what to do now." "You did exactly the right thing, although I imagine that Tulip must be very alarmed with all the racket you were making." He eyed the bucket underneath me. "Now, the question is how we get Tulip out from under there and back in her tank. I've got a whole bag of insects for her. She must be very hungry." I gulped. I hoped she wasn't hungry enough to try and take a bite out of me. "If we slide a piece of cardboard under the bucket, that should work," mused Mr. Dougal. "How did Tulip escape in the first place?" I asked. Mr. Dougal's cheeks turned red. "Instead of putting her back in her tank, like I should have done after showing her to your class, I set Tulip down on my desk. I've done it before, and usually she just sits there, much like a small, contented cat. But this time she leapt off and ran into the hallway before anyone could stop her." He hurried on. "I'm ever so indebted to you all for finding her. I would have been devastated if she'd been lost for good. I must say, your methods are unusual, but clearly work." Understanding flashed across his face. "And I'm guessing you're responsible for all the honey along the halls?" Zoe and I nodded. We thought the honey could catch Tulip, or at least catch some flies to lure her. Mr. Dougal stroked his chin and nodded. "That seems perfectly logical to me." "Mr. Dougal," I said, "do you think you could try to move Tulip now? I've been sitting on this bucket a long time." "Oh, of course," said Mr. Dougal. He looked around the supply closet and then grabbed a plastic folder. "This will work even better than cardboard." I hopped off the bucket and watched as Mr. Dougal deftly slipped the plastic folder under the bucket and then lifted it up. I could see the shadow and shape of Tulip scampering around, but she didn't get out. "Come along, Tulip," Mr. Dougal sang. "Time to go home." Zoe and I followed Mr. Dougal into the science lab, just to be sure that Tulip made it back into her tank. He slid her into the glass cage gently, and she immediately scuttled over to a giant leaf. "Make sure to close the lid," I said. I knew from experience that sometimes creatures get out of their enclosures when you least expect it. "Thank you both for your help," said Mr. Dougal, smiling at us. He looked around. "Weren't there 3 of you?" "Bernard didn't like being locked in the closet," I explained. "He's probably outside getting some fresh air." "Very wise," said Mr. Dougal. "But as I was saying, thank you, all of you, for your help. I'm very impressed by your bravery and creativity. Don't worry about the honey mess you made. I'll clean that up, and I'll write your teacher a note explaining why you were late for class and that you saved the day. Hopefully she can give you some extra credit or something." "That's okay," I said. "We didn't find Tulip for extra credit. We did it because we knew we were the only ones who could. And I felt braver than I ever had." "Well, you can come back and visit Tulip any time you like," said Mr. Dougal. I think we've probably seen enough of Tulip for now, said Zoe politely, but thank you. When we got back to class, Bernard was already there, standing at the front and telling everyone what had happened. Miss Winkleworth looked slightly sceptical. They can tell you, Bernard said, pointing at us. I handed Miss Winkleworth the note from Mr. Dougal. It's all true, I said. We're official spider catchers now. Everyone wanted to hear the details, and Miss Winkleworth let us tell the class all about it. Weren't you scared? Zac asked. He is one of Ralph's friends and sometimes calls me Scaredy Cat Sam too, but this time it didn't sound like he was making fun of me. I shook my head. I had been a little bit scared, but I knew now that being brave sometimes means facing things even if they scare you. Who would have thought that Scaredy Cat Sam would catch the spider, said Ralph. He was kind of smiling and kind of smirking, but at least he wasn't snorting. I even thought I heard him mumble to himself that it was kind of cool. It's very cool, said Regina. I just wish I had been there when you caught Tulip in the bucket. Then she looked at me, Bernard and Zoe. I'll definitely be there when you catch our zombie werewolf, though. At the mention of the zombie werewolf, Ralph went pale. Just because I was now an official spider catcher didn't mean I was ready to face a zombie werewolf. But I smiled at Regina and said, that will be no problem. Next to me, Bernard and Zoe groaned, but they were smiling too. We'd faced our fear of spiders and proved to everyone that we were not afraid. After school that day, I recreated the whole thing for Lucy. She was a great audience, gasping and cheering at all the right times. Do you want to come into my spider court? She asked. Now that you know about it, you can visit any time. No thanks, I said. I think I've seen enough spiders to last me a lifetime. I know I wasn't with you when you caught Tulip, but can I be a member of the Spider Catcher Club too? Lucy said. I grinned. Of course, you're a very important member. Then I paused. In fact, not only are you a member of the Spider Catcher Club, you are now officially a member of the Space Blasters crew too. If you'd like to be, that is. Lucy beamed. Definitely, she said. Then her smile faltered. Does this mean I have to watch Space Blasters with you all the time? I laughed. Only when you want to, I said. Okay, good. You watch a lot of Space Blasters. I shot my hand up in the air like a rocket, and Lucy did the same thing. For the universe! And that is the end of the story. Now, I really hope that you enjoyed listening to Sam Woo is Not Afraid of Spiders. I've really enjoyed sharing it with you. I hope you share it with your family, go back and watch it again if you really enjoy it, and maybe sometime soon we will do another one.